Hi, this is Dan Bullard, retired electronics engineer, sitting on the front deck of my houseboat again. I'm going to make this really short. I've been bitching and moaning about Dr. Matt Grady, but I want to tell you about a guy who's smarter than Matt Grady. I guarantee it, and it's not me. David Hillel Wilson. David Hillel Wilson is the guy who figured out how to integrate the duty cycle argument into the harmonics of a square wave. So when you know the duty cycle of a square wave, you can predict the harmonics created by the square wave. And he was not quite right. He was a little bit off, but I fixed it with my absolute function, because a 90% duty cycle square wave and a 10% duty cycle square wave have exactly the same harmonics. The spectrum looks identical. So 70%, 30%, 40%, 60%, they're exactly the same. David Hillel Wilson, he came up with the formula, but he didn't test it enough, and that's a big thing. But Matt Grady never did that. So now you realize a guy who's a PhD who writes an article like this and says stuff like this, notice there's no duty cycle in there. He's assuming a 50% duty cycle square wave. You can see because it's only odd harmonics, and he doesn't know why it's only odd harmonics. Why is it only odd harmonics for a 50% duty cycle square wave? Because it's symmetrical in time. Matt Grady doesn't know that. Nobody in the world knows that but me and you. Now when it comes to the triangle wave, that's a really fun one, and that's chapter 2 of distortion and harmonics. So if you look at chapter 2 of distortion and harmonics and then go through chapter 3, you'll find out all the formulas for square waves, triangle waves, duty cycle, T-rise versus T-total, all of that stuff. And I've talked about that many times. But I deduced that from David Hillel Wilson's formula that he put together and then didn't quite test, but that's okay. David Hillel Wilson's dead now. He's got a headstone and everything. Sorry, he died at age 49, which is way too early, but he accomplished a lot, and I appreciate David Hillel Wilson doing that. And he posted on the internet, and nobody ever figured it out. Certainly Matt Grady never figured it out. He's not looking for information because he knows everything. So Matt Grady, I want to say I'm sorry. I don't mean to bash you to death, but this is a guy, Matt Grady, not as smart as David Hillel Wilson. David Hillel Wilson didn't do anything in his life for his career. He ran a synthesizer museum in New England, and that was pretty much it. I don't know anything else he did. He must have found a way to make money somehow. But he accomplished a great deal for me anyway, and certainly for the rest of the world. And PhDs all over the world don't have a clue who David Hillel Wilson is. They don't know what his formula looks like. I'm the only one who's produced it, put it out there. His website's gone. Some people are smarter than doctors. There's a lot of people smarter than doctors. And David Hillel Wilson was smarter than any doctor on the planet. So I just want you to know that. Not as smart as me, but he was smarter than all the doctors on the planet. So once again, from the river, this is Dan Bullard. See ya.